Hey guys, so we're finally back with the final Bleach video. Now this episode is gonna be more of a overall recap of Core 1 before we jump into the Renaissance. I forgot to add that, but I'm gonna add it now. So this is what I thought, in my opinion, of what Core 1 of the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War has brought to us. Now, some of the things that stood out to me is definitely the history and background of the Soul Society, especially from the perspective of Yuha and how his relation with Captain Yamato. Now, the cool thing is that we never seen Captain Yamamoto, I would say, press about anything, and that he always was the head foot in charge. Nobody would question like his authority. But as we got into episode 6 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, we clearly saw the definition definitely of Captain Yamamoto's Bankai, as well as his unwilling strength when it comes to like abilities. I think that that definitely stood out to me in core one, that he is considered, well, before any other new characters was introduced to us, he was definitely the peak of the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War arc. Like everybody tried to gain the respect and the same ability equivalent to Captain Yamamoto. As we saw there was a split between the old age and the new age. So after the death of Sasakibe, we got a lot of history from the original Gote 13, and that my biggest question comes from core 1 is that what happened to them, and was it like a Uchiha you know that I'm just gonna reference Naruto, was it like in a way where they weren't cooperating and they were assassinated by Captain Yamamoto due to the fact that they didn't want to come in the new age, where I think by them being mercenary bandits of killers, that they didn't want to teach themselves new things. That's a lot of mystery. I think I wish the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War would answer in the future. That what happened to the Gote 13, the original one, and they said that they were the strongest in history, the version that Captain Yamamoto was part of. And when Captain Yamamoto released Zankai no Tachi on the four cardinals, which is the west, north, and south, and east, we saw the abilities of Zankai no Tachi in full display, and Core 1 fighting the Quincy King, well, his double ganger. But even though it was his double ganger, the ability of yourself and your Y, which is Stern Ritter Y, is the other brother's abilities able to copy and mimic the abilities as well as the personality of who he's copying. So I honestly think that that was an impressive ability to even force Captain Yamamoto to go out Bankai. I'm surprised Captain Yamamoto didn't see that coming, which is even more shocking. And his Zankai no Tachi South, which allow him to awaken all the dead people that he has killed with his Bankai, was pretty impressive. I think probably the most emotional part of the season is that this is when we saw um the child becomes the man, or the child becomes the parent when the parent has no longer the will to stand or exist. When Captain Yamamoto died, it felt like there's a void in the episode, and that things did not even feel right, and it just kept getting worse and worse. Like Ichigo managed to make it back, but at the same time, at what cost, right? Like Ichigo got beat up so bad that even though the enemies flee due to the abilities that Aizen display at the Muken, where he put it like a time lapse. Therefore, I think like the Quincy King and his right hand man, Hoshwald, what's his name, and they couldn't stay in the real world of the Soul Society for too long. So they have the ability to go out of shadows, like the ability of that, which episode Born in the Dark, which is episode 7, if I'm not mistaken. It basically explains that, Yuhabak is a Quincy king, and that he considered Ichigo as his son, and that Ichigo was even more shocked about this because right before he was really planning on killing Ichigo, we literally saw that he used Blutvena, which is a Quincy ability, which actually spared his life um by that sword that the Quincy King has. And even Yuhabak mentioned that, this is no mistaking it. This was Bloodvein, that, only Quincy's like us would be able to use that. And at the same time, he said that the Quilge OP, which is Stern Ritter J, his ability to gel, would allow hollows or shimigamis inside that prison he did, but not for Quincy's. So when that was a revelation, Ichigo was even more shocked that, how do you know that? And he said, yeah, maybe you don't know that much about yourself. Like you're part Shimigami and part Quincy. So this was a even more bigger revelation, like throughout the whole core. When Ichigo found out that his parent was literally a Quincy, and he had to literally go back and search for answers that he never had to. That even goes back to what Aizen was mentioning, how in the original Bleach anime, Aizen was mentioning that Ichigo's mom is a Shimigami, and his father stepped in and just stopped Aizen from speaking any further. So that was even more interesting that they reference certain thing back. And like I said, when a child becomes an adult, this was a perfect send off to Captain Yamamoto trying to defend his turf, but at the same time, he also appointed his successor, which was Sunsui. And Sunsui is one of the oldest captains alongside his closest friend Utakate, which both of them were the first captains that graduated out of the academy. So they were captains even 100 years ago. So that's pretty insane. And we even got even more backstory on Captain Unahana, which originally she was part of the original Gotei 13. She was one of the most brutal captains or assassins in the underground Mukin, and she was Revelation. She was also the first Kenpachi, which was pretty awesome in my book. I always felt like she was a very important character. One of my most interesting but yet mysterious thing about the fight between Unahana and Kenpachi, her will to pass her successor is a duel of succession for the Kenpachis. In order for you to consider yourself a Kenpachi, you must pass down the Kenpachi title to the next one. What I find very cool about Unohana is that throughout my look and research about her, I have a weird feeling that her Bankai is an acid blood, which Minazuki is a dual side Zanpakuto. What I mean by that is one side is healing and one side is not, right? And I think that is due to the companionship and help with Tenjiro, Lightning Strass Tenjiro, which is part of the Royal Guards, which we got introduced to the Royal Guards. Mind you, they were mentioned 1,000, close to 600 episode in the past, and that they were referencing and the turn back pendulum arc. And because one of the members, which is Hikifune, was the last member that was appointed while she became part of the Royal Guard. I think what I find cool by just learning from the Zero Squad when they came to the Soul Society back down, they felt like they've always been disconnected with the whole Soul Society. And I think due to the fact that they're so old, especially the top four, they're very old, especially Ichibe, Uetsu, and Senjumaru. Those captains, royal guards, are very, very old, and that each and every one of them has accomplished something that actually functions in the Soul Society and built the Soul Society. Like, I think that was probably my most interesting thing about the whole thing, is that those characters are so powerful, but yet their job is also to protect the king, but at the same time they are also have the ability to train and um awaken other people's abilities, especially the monk, which is Owatsu Ichibe, um, Osho, which is who they call him. And when they came down, they looked it very goofy until they really started showing that they're very serious and that they're very strong. And they even mentioned that just by having those five people, they're stronger throughout the entire Gotei 13 and history. So that means that even from Yamamoto's time, those were stronger than even them. And I think due to the fact that when they get to the royal palace, from what they say, their oaken there is their bones, and that no one can get in or out of the royal palace without them. And that's what Aizen was trying to do throughout the whole invasion Arrancar arc, to get to the soul. So that would explain that if Aizen would have got there, he would have had to face the royal guards, which I'm still trying to figure out how Aizen would pull that off. But also I feel as if while the old Gotei 13 has passed away, I think that Unohana, by learning from Tenjuro, um, Lightning Tenjiro, which he is the healing master of the royal guards. I think Uetsu was the one that recreated her sword and basically gave her a sword that is not dual, but has the ability to shift from Aikido, which is Minazuki, to also the Bankai part, which is also Minazuki, but the acidic part of Minazuki. So I think the Royal Guards is probably my most interesting bunch of characters. I can't wait to see what they gonna do for the second core, and I know that the second core is gonna be very interesting. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I learned from core one, and I can't wait to see what our character is gonna have to do in the future. But I think those are the most key points that I took out, and I think they should definitely expand more of the Bleach lore, especially when it comes to giving more backstory to the royal guards and how come they were never present in certain times of crisis. But also I want to know more about the Soul King, which we got a little glimpse of him but not too much. But it seems like everybody's training for part 2, which the second core has concluded last year. So we will be covering the second core probably, um I'm thinking in March or April. We might cover it within those times. But like I said, Renaissance will be coming up next. But my thought is the second core, from what I heard, is gonna be amazing. I can't wait to review it, and I can't wait to cover all that. But like I said, guys, this was an amazing ride. I know that it took me some time to cover everything, but I think the Thousand Year Blood War arc has did Bleach justice, and I just pray that the people that never had the moment to watch Bleach return, this is for you guys. And like I said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Renaissance up next.